Bronner's Christmas Wonderland in Frankenmuth, Michigan, is the culmination of a lifetime of dedication and commitment by its founder and innovative leader, Wally Bronner. Wally's strong beliefs in faith, family, community, and mankind have left a legacy of love, peace, hope, and joy to the millions of visitors, as well as the local and world communities whose lives he has touched.
Frankenmuth was first settled in 1845. 14 settlers came from Franconia area of Germany. 100 additional settlers arrived in 1846, and my ancestors on the Hubinger side of the family, that's my mother's side, were among that group. The Hubingers primarily were merchants. On my father's side of the family, the Bronners, most all of them are in the building trades industry. The first congregation in Frankenmuth was named St. Lawrence Lutheran Church. This was the church where my parents were baptized, and also they brought me for baptism in 1927. This is the home where I spent most of my childhood. Ever since 1928, when we moved here from one block north of here. In this particular home is where I spent that childhood along with my brother Arnold, who was 10 years older than myself, and my sister Helen, 8 years older. Naturally, I'm thrilled to look at this home now and admire the designs of the brickwork around the windows, as well as the doorway, all designed by my father and naturally kept well under the supervision of my mother, who just loved flowers and the garden, and we had a beautiful home life. In this home is where I also had the opportunity to paint signs, because loving parents allowed Wally to dabble with paints, saw and build signs, and all that happened in the basement of our home.
I can remember when he started out, I was probably about 5 years old, and in the basement of Grandpa and Grandma's house, there was a floor, a cement floor, and I think there were probably 150 different colors splattered all over the floor. Another thing I can remember about Wally at family functions was Wally always had a camera, but it's a memory that I have, and to this day he still has his camera all the time.
Then came the time when they asked me to do some posters for school activities. Naturally, I was proud to do that, then even got a tip once in a while. And I thought, goodness, you get money for doing this kind of thing?
Well, Wally Bronner, what a guy. I've known this man for almost 70 years, and been a great experience to see him go through school and through his career. When I got to know him in a business sense was in June of 1947, when I started to work at Star of the West Milling Company, which was right next door or adjoining Wally's folks' house, Herman Bronner's house. They were out there working in Herman's basement, painting signs, and one of the big things they did back then was they were painting signs that they sold to farmers, big long boards, and on the signs it would say Richard Kraft and Son since 1846 or whatever.
Frankly, I was surprised when request after request came for painting this sign and even decorating a float. The word spread around, and then other communities had events and parades, so we got to the point where we did signs and banners and floats for other businesses and other organizations in the neighboring towns, and all of that really helped together from the standpoint of developing our business. And again, as I think back, I'm thankful for every opportunity when people ask us, can you serve us in this manner or this manner? This gives us an opportunity for service, and really that's what business is all about, serving the customer's needs.
I remember meeting Wally at a young age of about 15 years old. I came to town, and Wally happened to be painting a sign there by Aunt Hattie, and he said, "Hey buddy, would you help me pick the sign up and turn it over?" And I said, "Sure." So he wanted to paint the back side of it. So we chatted a little bit, and I really didn't know Wally at that time. I was a country kid, and so he said, "Why don't you come back tomorrow?" And 48 years later, I retired.
Another important facet of my life was the Young People's Organization, which was called the Walther League. And that was the Young People's Organization of the Lutheran Church. We got together weekly for Bible class, and then once a month had a social event, and those groups then invited different congregations. And in the process there, I had the opportunity to meet Irene Pretzer, my sweetheart and bride.
When I went to college, then I worked a couple of years for the president of the Jennison Hardware Company. And then when Wally came one night, they asked him what he did, and he said, well, he was doing some window trimming and sign painting. He said, well, you know, we could use our windows trimmed. So that's how he got his window trimming job at Jennison Hardware Company. And then while he was there, the city of Clare came in and asked the hardware people for some Christmas decorations. And they said, well, we don't have any, but you could talk to the window trimmer. Maybe he can fix you up. So they went and talked to Wally, and he said, well, we don't have anything either, but we can make you some. And that was actually the start of our Christmas business.
Here are some of the first panels that I did for Wally. These were done for the city of Clare, and he showed me roughly what he wanted done, and I would do the layout, and he'd approve it, and I'd go ahead and letter it and do my thing with it. He gave me a free hand, and this is what we came up with.
At the Saginaw County Fair, we decorated many booths for various merchants. Oftentimes, we would be there 2 and 3 weeks to do that kind of work. One job led to the next, then to the next. Then many of those merchants also had windows to decorate, needed signs throughout the year, and it was a great opportunity to get our business known.
Well, we'd start out early in the morning at the Saginaw Fair. During the course of the day, you would think maybe Wally would finally get caught up, but as the day progressed, more and more and more. Then it'd be supper time, he'd still be bringing in.
Pretty soon they outgrew Herman's basement. Fortunately, Wally's dad, Herman, knew how to build things and do it well. And so Wally and he somehow worked out a deal, and Herman started building him a building. He never said this, but I sensed that in his mind, Dad probably thought different times, Wally, why don't you get a real job?
And then in 1954, we had our first Christmas store. And that, of course, at that time was mostly for commercial decorations. So cities and shopping malls would come there, and some customers would come in, and we would turn on the music and turn on the lights, and when they'd leave, we would turn them off again till the next crew came. When we moved to our first store, we thought that was going to last us for the rest of our lives. But then proved us wrong, and when the bank became available, we moved into that, and we had our Tannenbaum shop there. Then after Wally's Aunt Hattie Hubinger died, we moved into her grocery store, and that was our Bavarian corner, as we called it. So we were occupying all three. And there were so many customers that were coming that we had to have a doorman to let them in, so there wouldn't be too many people in the store at one time. And you'd see these long lines, and people would go from one store to the other and stand in line again. We did a lot of running back and forth to the airport, and Wally was usually pretty much last minute, so we'd get there just in time, or maybe they'd have to open the door again for Wally to get on the plane. But he always made it, one way or another.
I'm here in Aunt Hattie's store. In fact, I got the feeling that Aunt Hattie's peeking over my shoulder. We're thankful to have this nice portrait of Aunt Hattie, and I think of this store primarily as Aunt Hattie's store, even though it started out in the Hubinger family many years ago. And I have just many fond memories of Grandpa Gottfried Hubinger and his wife Maria, who operated the store along with the help of their daughter Aunt Hattie, and my mother Ella Hubinger Bronner also helped. As I think back, probably the grandparents enjoyed introducing their little grandson to the customers that were here. Then I also was asked, Wally, would you help carry these bags to the lady's car? And so for that, the lady would say, thank you very much, little man. And I would learn to say, you are welcome, Mrs. So-and-so. And all of that was a great business experience to me. And really, those very same principles that I learned in this store are so applicable daily with every customer at Bronner's Christmas Wonderland. When I worked in my Aunt Hattie's store in the 1930s, this white apron was the uniform of the day. And I would walk along these drawers, take out the merchandise, and to think these drawers have been here since the early 1900s. In this drawer, there used to be barley coffee and malt coffee. Then came the highlight of the store for me, Aunt Hattie's candy counter. And you would see licorice sticks, the peppermints, to Necco wavers, little Clark bars, Baby Ruth, Butterfingers, all those goodies. I can just taste them right now. And to think that I'm sitting here at this property that my ancestors had as a farm, it's beautiful and picturesque, and it's been in the family all these years. And the home is in the Alpine style. Since I had been acquainted with the European architecture in the Alpine region, we thought, why not try this? And my wife said, well, that sounds good. So I designed the exterior and she designed the interior. And we've lived here happily ever after.
There's often been a lot of talk about the Bavarian architecture in Frankenmuth, and you know, Frankenmuth culture is very German, so it's a real natural extension of that German heritage. I believe Wally did some sketching as to what this Bavarian architecture would look like, or what it could do to the post office building, what it could do for some old style buildings in Frankenmuth, the Bavarian Inn, Zender's at the time. And as you look now, you can see that, of course, Frankenmuth and the Bavarian Inn and Bronner's are all building on that architectural heritage of our community.
Sometimes people ask the question, don't you ever get tired of Christmas? Well, my answer would be definitely not, because I think the good Lord intended that Christmas spirit to radiate among people every day of the year.
My dad always knew exactly how many days it was till Christmas. Whether it was 1 week, 300 days, 287 days, he knew. But when the day, as he put it, finally arrived, I could just sense his excitement on that special day. It meant so much to him, and it rubbed off on me. I
have to admit that even though we're with Christmas decorations 364 days of the year, I merely consider that as a rehearsal, so that comes Christmas Day, it's going to be the finest for Irene, my wife, as well as myself and all our dear family.
One of the many things I admire about Mom and Dad is their positive attitudes. They don't complain about things, and they always make the best of every situation. And I'm very thankful that I could grow up in an environment like that and learn from their example. Dad loves being with people, and he can always come up with the right words for any occasion, whether it's words of appreciation, comfort, encouragement, motivation, or even a prayer. Even at a moment's notice, he's very caring and considerate, and people really appreciate that. Dad has always absorbed ideas wherever he would be. He would see something or hear something that would spark an idea, and he'd jot it down on a piece of paper or a napkin or whatever he could find at the time. This is one that I just found in his office. Dad also loves to sketch design ideas, and this is the rough draft of the first brochure that he made when we moved to this building in 1977.
The children have also gotten involved, and we're so thankful that the second generation has taken over the management portion of our business, and that gives Wally and I a little freedom of mind anyway, and time to think about a few other things. Even though Wally's there every day, he has to be a part of it.
Sometimes people might say, aren't you working too long? And then I simply reply, it's not work, it's a hobby. The business started as a hobby, and it's still a hobby.
Wally is really a Frankenmuth icon, and it's been an interesting relationship for our families and his family, and I think it's something that will continue in the years ahead with the next generations.
Well, my father, Wally, loves people, and in particular, he really enjoys meeting people from all different walks of life, from many, many different cultures. I've had the opportunity to travel with him for many, many years, along with some of our buyers, as we visited various factories in Europe. And inevitably, when we'd visit a factory, of course, our main objective was to go see the managers and line up our orders and our production for the year. But in the process, Wally'd be talking with the doorman, and he'd be talking with the receptionist. And then there was the lady who was mopping the floor, and he was always sharing with them a few words in their native tongue, always trying to get them to smile. And it was a particular challenge if somebody didn't have a smile on their face. He'd really work at it until he got a smile out of them. One of the things I learned from Dad, and perhaps this is the most important thing, is the value and the dignity and the importance of all people. He really does appreciate everybody's role, everybody's importance. And if people respect you and have that value and that appreciation for you, they're going to give you 100% And that's very, very important in a business relationship.
That spirit of cooperation that Frankenmuth has been noted for was very evident in the Bronner family and the Zender family over these years. One of the early promotions that my dad was involved with talked about having Sunday dinners 7 days a week. And Wally would bring in a lot of his commercial accounts during the week, and that really helped that weekday business. So instead of just being a Sunday afternoon chicken dinner, the chicken dinners became a 7-day-a-week type business, which of course was good for us, and it's also good for Bronner's.
Here we are in the program center of Bronner's Christmas Wonderland. And here we can show it all. We can even have artist signings. We can have people talk about collectibles. This program center is also ideal for preserving memorabilia. The very first nativity scene that I framed for my parents, that's on display here. In the Talent Festival, I painted a sign for St. Lawrence School District, and we've got that on display. Often the question gets asked, what makes Bronner's a success? Well, the answer is quite simple. It's people. Those people that take the time to visit here, and we're thankful for each one of them.
I'm surprised at how many people Wally knows all over, and the kind of people he knows. Everywhere you go, it's hi Wally, and how's Irene, and how's the family, and how's your new building project? They all know the guy, and it's really impressive. And Wally is a warm and fuzzy guy, not just to the high and mighty, but also to the common folks. And you can see that. It really jumps right out at you.
That's why I stayed with him so long. Wally was a fantastic man to work for, a good Christian person, and people always say, Eddie, why do you stay there so long? And I say, I like it here, and Wally's a super guy to work for.
Christmas decorations, that's an exciting subject. You know, really, you wouldn't need any decorations. The most important part for decorating is that your heart is decorated with joy, love, hope, and peace over the joy and significance of what it means. Christmas, the observance of Christ the Savior's birth.
I was always very impressed with my parents' relationship with God. He was always number one in their lives.
We also learned as Christians, wherever there's a Christian, there's a missionary, and wherever there's a missionary, there's a mission field. So I like to think of our place of business as a mission field. Merry Christmas, Blessed Christmas, those are favorite expressions and words dear to the ear. But you know, around the world, that Christmas greeting is spoken in a number of languages. For example, the Spanish say, Feliz Navidad, and the Hungarians say, Boldog Karácsony Ünnepeket, and all of this means joy that Christ the Savior is born.
When it comes to community service, Wally is Mr. City Beautification. He's really the spark plug behind the City Beautification Committee. He has been as long as he's been on it.
We all get little notes from Wally occasionally about something that we can do to further enhance our business. And of course, Wally does it in a very positive manner and is very desiring of creating a better looking Frankenmuth, because he knows and we know that if Frankenmuth looks good, the guests coming here enjoy it and will come back again and shop at Bronner's and eat at Bavarian Inn and Zender's.
Even today, when you get a Wally note, there's apt to be a pretty star drawn on it, or a Christmas tree, or something that his artistic mind just compels him to do, I guess. And it's nice, you appreciate it.
He sets an example for everyone. If there's a cup on the pavement, he stops and picks it up. Some people have said they've seen him pulling weeds at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning along Main Street.
I said to Wally one time, why don't you let Merle and those guys pick up the trash? And Wally said, Eddie, once you're too proud to bend over to pick up trash, you got a problem. And I think that's the toughest Wally ever talked to me. I said, I just learned my lesson.
Wally was an innovator. He really wanted to try new things all the time.
Just like going into Christmas, the first Christmas show I had, I think it was 95 degrees out. I'm sure the people in Frankenmuth said, what's that young Wally Bronner trying to do? But a couple of years later, when the lineups were up there, they didn't laugh anymore.
In the middle 1970s, we then decided to design new buildings. And of course, Christmas was just busting out of its seams at that time also. So in tandem, Actually, at the same time, we designed 2 different buildings. One for the screen printing business and one of them for the Christmas decorating business.
At the suggestion of our city manager, he suggested we move to the south end of town, or that would be a good place for us. So finally, when we moved down there, we built a huge building, which we thought would be good forever. But we were down there from 1977 till 1991 before we added on. And then we doubled the place. It just continues to grow as God has continued to bless us, and we're so thankful for that.
I'm here at the construction site in the year 2001. Expansion is taking place again. You know, as I think back, for the building of our business, it all started in 1945, and then we occupied numerous buildings, maybe 30 of them all told. And now it's 2001, and I'm holding the sketch of the building that is under construction.
Dad has a great knack for public relations, which he's acquired over the years. He's always willing to take time out of his schedule to pose for a picture with a guest in the sales room, or sign an autograph for someone, or even take time out for an interview with a student that might have questions such as entrepreneurial advice. Dad is never short of an idea, or a press release, or a promotion, or a media angle. And he's been wonderful in working with the media over all these years, no matter how many times they ask him the same story about how Bronner's got started, or how the family celebrates Christmas. And he'd really like the second generation to be more involved in the media interviews too, but we'd always tell him when he's available, Dad, you do it. They want to hear from you. You're our Walt Disney. And much like Disneyland, Bronner's is a happy place. Everywhere you look, there's smiles and happiness and joy on the visitors' faces. And I think Dad can be very proud of that joy that he's helped create over the years, and special memories that he's brought back to people of Christmases past, or maybe a new memory that he's helped create for a Christmas.
Bronner's is kind of like Disneyland, where they're always building and adding some new addition to the place, so people want to come back, and family members want to show it off. And citizens that from other places tell me that when they're traveling, they see Bronner signs in Florida or some other part of the country. And not only is it advertising the Bronner's story and the Christmas store, but it's always advertising Frankenmuth.
Christmas time in Frankenmuth really is a special time, and you know, the whole town just decorates, and we follow the model, of course, that Bronner's create with their Christmas decorations.
Among our variety of 50,000 different items, we have at least 750 styles of nativity scenes, and they range in size from 1 inch to life size. And even though we produce this life-size nativity scene, we also have others that are produced by other producers around the world. When I look at the nativity scene, I'm thankful for those American veterans that protected those rights, that we have the freedom of religion. So a nativity scene can be displayed in public. There are many parts of the world where that is not possible.
The guy's a real patriotic person, too. He made the most wonderful Memorial Day speech that I have ever heard here in Frankenmuth.
He challenged the veterans at the Legion that they should build a permanent memorial to honor all those that served in the war. And today we have a very lovely memorial in the middle of town there in Willcommon Park that will be there forever to pay tribute to those who fought to keep our country free.
The memorial is designed by a local artist, Harold Eckhart, and many people pause and reflect to think of those freedoms that have been protected by the veterans year after year and are still being protected by everyone that serves in the military. Every member of the Bronner family really appreciates the kindnesses shown to us by the press. Radio, television, newspaper, magazines. The word also got around that this is the world's largest Christmas display. And through the years, we received many, many different awards. Sometimes people give me way too much credit, and that causes me to reflect and say, wait a minute, this is not possible were it not for the guests coming here, and would it not be for the supportive family that we have, and equally important, each member of our staff who does a superb job in trying to meet the customer's needs.
Well, Bronner's Christmas Wonderland is a unique business in the world. We're very fortunate that we here in our small community of Frankenmuth have the largest Christmas store in the world, and it means a lot of things to Frankenmuth. It starts out when people come around the corner into the community and see the Silent Night Chapel, and it's a wonderful entranceway portal to our community.
When Wally was buying his ornaments here in the States, he found that there was a need for more religious ornaments. So he started going overseas. And the one year he suggested going to Obendorf. There's a Silent Night Chapel there. And we took a little side trip, went over there and visited the chapel. And as we were walking away, he said, "Do you think this would be something we should have in Frankenmuth?" And it all came together so fast, but it was so great to see it happen and have it built and be dedicated by him to the glory of God.
Stille Nacht, Silent Night. That's the world's most beloved Christmas carol. That carol is also known as Austria's Christmas gift to the world because composers Joseph Mohr and Franz Gruber, they are the ones who first sang that carol on Christmas Eve 1818 in St. Nicholas Church in Obendorf, Austria. This very chapel remembers that event, and that chapel is a replica of the very chapel that's a memorial chapel on the original site where the carol was first sung. Often the question gets asked of the Bronner family, why did we replicate that chapel? The answer is, this is an expression of gratitude to God for the blessings that He's bestowed upon us throughout our years of business. And it's only proper to share those blessings. Scriptures tell us in Corinthians, to whom much is given, much is expected. In Matthew, we're also told, share with others. And how's this little miracle doing here, huh?
Real good.
Wow.
If smiles are an outward reflection of being blessed, there are many who feel blessed to have known Wally Bronner. His family, of course. His many friends from around the world. His staff and their families. And the millions of visitors to the store where Mr. Christmas has been greeting and entertaining visitors with his unassuming charm, boundless enthusiasm, quick wit, and deep faith.
Say, I got to check on these enthusiastic youngsters. You're all in a good mood because Christmas is coming?
That's exactly right.
Hey,
That's
terrific.
right.
I want to tell you this. There's never any charge to get in here, although some people tell us it could cost to get out. Hi, how are you? Wow, big smile. Yeah, that's nice. Oh, you got my finger. Let's see your big smile. Oh, wow, that's a nice one. From El Salvador.
Yes.
Well, then we have to say, Bienvenido, de amigos, de decoraciones, de navideñas.
Thank you.
You know, I went to my last school reunion and I left early because there were just old people there. Yeah. Bertrand, hey, nice to have you visit here and we hope you're enjoying yourself. You like those shoes? How about that? Yeah.
Ready for
Okay.
the Christmas season.
Absolutely, yes.
I want some snow.
I hope that wasn't too flaky.
No, jeez.
You
no.
got the drift?
Yes, we did.
I can snow again.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know if I could take any more.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.